Hi Crypt Keepers, thank you so much for tuning into Amy's Crypt. Today I thought that we would get all lovey-dovey because Valentine's Day is just around the corner, but I don't want to get lovey in a traditional sense. I thought that today I would tell you some ghost stories. And these stories all have love related to them in some way or the other, but be warned because things do get quite dark in these stories. The first of these stories that I want to share with you guys takes us to Vancouver, Canada, and more specifically one of the oldest parts of Vancouver, which is known as Gastown. Now, I did personally spend quite a bit of time in Vancouver, and I found Gastown to be one of my favorite places because there are so many ghost stories there. There are ghost stories on almost every corner, and there are so many buildings there that are said to be extremely haunted. This story that I'm going to tell you isn't so much related to a building, but it is more related to a building or structure that used to be in a certain area of Gastown, and that area is known as Jailer's Mews. Now today this area is kind of like a little alley and it's surrounded by really trendy stores, bars, restaurants, but it gets its name from its history. So during the mid 1800s there was actually an old jail that existed in this location, but in the Great Fire of Vancouver in 1886 this place was lost. Now another little bit of information about Jailer's Mews is it also used to have a courtyard area where many people were executed. There was about 40 odd people who were hanged in this area. Now you guys are probably thinking, yikes Amy, this isn't very romantic, but we will get to that. But I'm sure you can also understand that a place with such history would have had a lot of dark events occur there, and yes, Jailer's Mews is said to be extremely haunted. There are a number of spirits that are said to dwell in the area of Jailer's Mews, and some of them have even taken up residence in the neighboring businesses, which I think is pretty cool. But we're going to be focusing in on one spirit in particular. This is actually one of the most, the best known, the most commonly cited spirits, and that is of a very sad looking woman. She is generally dressed in black, in a long black flowing dress that you'd expect to see someone wearing during the 1800s. She walks down the length of Jailer's Mews, and she's often described as being really overcome with sadness. So a lot of the time she's crying or weeping, and things get even stranger when people just see her disappear into thin air. So this is where the tragic love story kind of comes into play. A lot of people believe that this woman is actually stuck in this area because her lover was hanged and executed in Jailer's Mews. So she keeps having to return and grieve her dead lover, which is actually really tragic, and you can picture her doing this for such a long amount of time. It seems that she has been there grieving since at least the 1800s. I do not know for sure whether this is an intelligent haunting, and there has been investigators go to the area and make contact with the woman, and that is why they kind of know her backstory, that she is there grieving her dead lover. Or maybe it's just a residual haunting, and in that case I would say that her being there to grieve her lover who was executed in the area is more of a speculation to kind of fit the setting and the story. But if this is a residual haunting, you can just imagine the amount of grief that this woman has experienced that has kind of just kept her trapped in that area, just almost doomed to keep repeating the same thing, just crying, walking down Jailer's Mews and grieving her lover. Okay guys, I know that one was a little bit of a bummer, and I'm sad to say that my next story doesn't get any more uplifting. It does take us to one of the most magnificent places that I visited while I was over in the UK, and that is a place called Aston Hall, which you guys would find in Birmingham. Aston Hall is a grand old house that was built back in the 1600s. It is said to be quite haunted and holds a number of spirits, but I'm going to be focusing in on just one of these spirits for our ghostly love story, and that is actually one of the most commonly cited, best known about spirits, which is the Grey Lady of Aston Hall. The woman who is believed to actually be this Grey Lady is the daughter of a Thomas Holt. Now Thomas Holt was actually the person who built Aston Hall. He owned it, and he's said to have been a little bit of a jerk in life who is very hot-tempered, hated, and he was a very aggressive man. Anyway, Thomas Holt's daughter is said to have fallen head over heels in love with a man who was unfortunately not of noble status. This young couple was so in love, but they knew that their love was in a way forbidden, and there was no way that it would be approved of. So like so many love stories of that time, which you guys hear, they decided to elope and run away in secret and just be together, which I think is the most romantic thing, when you have to run away, leave your whole life behind just to be together. Now, Thomas Holt, the father in this whole situation, got very angry over this. He hated it so much, like his daughter had almost made a mockery of him, especially since he'd already chosen a nice, wealthy man to marry his daughter off to. As you probably already guessed, this couple running away to live happily ever after with one another didn't really work out for the best. Thomas Holt captured his daughter and brought her back to Aston Hall, and then he placed her in a room in the servants' quarters where she was confined for the rest of her life. She never seen the outside world again, she never saw her lover again, and she was left there to grow slowly mad over time. Now, legend states that she lasted for about 16 years in this room before she died, and now her spirit, her ghost, is said to be trapped within Aston Hall to roam the halls. In particular, the room where she was kind of locked away in and trapped is said to be very haunted, and a lot of people have witnessed the ghost of a grey lady within that room. Okay, yes, that ghostly love story was also a little bit of a bummer. Sorry guys. The next one, it doesn't really get too much brighter, but it kind of has a cool ending and everything kind of comes together nicely with this one. It also takes place in one of my favorite cities in Mexico, that is Guanajuato. This place is absolutely magic. It's just so beautiful. It almost like gives me European vibes. There are a lot of buildings built up really close together, which gives you a lot of these really skinny, really narrow walkways. There's just alleys everywhere, and there's one really skinny alley which is super famous, and that is where our story takes place. It is known as Alley of the Kiss. So with this story, we do have a wealthy family, and their home actually backs right onto Alley of the Kiss. Now, just like in the other story, the daughter of this very wealthy family falls in love with a man who is unfortunately, again, not of very noble status. Oops, a little bit of a forbidden love again. Anyway, to keep their love a secret, the man in this relationship decided to rent a room which was on the other side of the alley. So because he was renting a room on this side of the alley and the wealthy family's house was on this side of the alley, and the alley was super skinny, the back rooms met each other. And at night, this couple could sneak out onto their balconies and have little kissing sessions, because I'll show you some overlays of how skinny this alley is, but they were able just to meet at their balconies, which is kind of cool. But like with all these stories, soon the jig was up and everything turned sour. The father here actually discovered of his daughter's secret relationship through whispers going around town, and he thought to himself, I need to check if this is real. I'm going to stay up and sort of spy on my daughter to find out if all these people are just making up gossip or there is some truth behind this. Anyway, this father did discover that there was in fact truth behind this. He spied on his daughter and caught them in the act of meeting on the balconies for their late night kissing sessions. He was so angry when he seen this. He rushed out onto the balcony, catching the young lovers off guard. And there's a couple of different tellings as to how this story ends, but pretty much they all end with death. So basically it is said that the father, in his, rage of anger, beat and bludgeoned his own daughter to death right then and there on the balcony. Now, it's also said that he either pushed the young man over the edge of the balcony to his death, or after this young woman was beaten to death by her father, the young man was so grief-stricken over losing the love of his life that he took his own life by jumping from the balcony down to the stone stairs below, and again dying. Now, however tragic this whole story is, that little alley of the kiss in Mexico, is said to now be haunted by the young lovers. So I do think, at least in death, they were able to, you know, to be together. And it's also said that any couples who share a kiss in that area will spend a lifetime of happiness together. And I do admit that Jared did sneak a sneaky kiss with me while we were there. So I guess that in a way this does have a nice conclusion to the story, and a lot of people have compared this to a sort of Mexican version of Romeo and Juliet, which, as you guys all know, is one of the most told and most popular love stories like ever. Now, I really do hope that you guys enjoyed these love stories that got you excited for Valentine's Day, and if you're not one who really enjoys or likes Valentine's Day, just know that since you're here, you are a crypt keeper, and that means that I love you. What is cool about this video as well is I wanted to throw one together kind of quickly, not just for Valentine's Day, but I am also actually traveling at the moment. I'm on a trip with my mum and we are investigating some amazing locations that I cannot wait to share with you guys. There's going to be some really, really cool stuff coming up. Plus you guys get to meet my mum properly, which I'm very excited about. So if you did enjoy this video, please remember to like, comment, share and subscribe. That really helps me out. If you want to read any more information about any of the places I've talked to in this video, then head to my website AmysCrypt.com. You guys can also follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at AmysCrypt. Thanks for watching, my crypt keepers. Until next time.